So on your notes, this is lesson 8-8, solving multi-step equations and inequalities. So now we're looking at both, and they are multi-step, which means you can have more than just two steps, because that's what we've looked at in the past. On this first example, see, it's really long. So we have 20 times x plus 2.5 equals 15 times 2x plus 1. So before we can even start this, we know we've got to get our x's together across the equal sign, but we can't until we get rid of these parentheses on both sides. So on both sides of this problem, we're going to have to distribute to get rid of that. 20 times x is 20x. Then 20 times 2.5 is 50. Then on the other side, we have to distribute. 15 times 2x is 30x. 15 times 1 is 15. So this is where we're at now. 20x plus 50 equals 30x plus 15. So now, again, we cannot start solving for x until we just have one of them. So we're going to have to move one across the equal sign. So if I subtract this 20x, because I'm moving the whole thing, yeah, that's hard to read that, I know. So when we subtract that, 20 minus 20 cancels, I'm left with 50. 30 minus 20x is 10x, and then we still have plus 15. So once we subtract that 20x from both sides, we're left with 50 equals 10x plus 15. Now we can start solving for x. So we want to get rid of this 10 and 15 in order to do that, so you get rid of the one that's by itself first, the 15. Since it's being added on both sides, we subtract it from both sides. Or since it's being added, we subtract it from both sides. Then 50 minus 15 is 35. 10x comes down, and that canceled. So now we have 35 equals 10x. So now to solve for x, we divide both sides by 10. When you divide 35 by 10, you get 3.5. So it has a lot of steps. That's what it means by multi-step. Okay, I want y'all, let's see, to do 1A only. I'm not going to make you do both of these. So try 1A, and then I'll go over it with you. Right, on 1A, we have two m's, so we can't solve for this until we get our m's together. But before that, I can't even do anything with this m until I get rid of these parentheses. So we have to distribute that 6 first. So on this side, I still have 12m plus 12 equals 6 times 3m is 18m plus 6 times 3 is 18. This is now my problem. So now I can get my m's together. Because they're on opposite sides of the equal sign, to get them together, we do the opposite. So I'm going to move 12. Now, I'm trying to move 12 and m, not just the 12. So I have to look out front of it. It's a positive number, so we subtract the whole thing, the whole term, to the other side. 18 minus 12 is 6m plus 18. We are just now to where we can solve for m. 12 equals 6m plus 18. So to get m by itself with the equal sign, I've got to get rid of 6 and 18. You get rid of the one that's by itself first. Since it's being added, we subtract from both sides. And then I bring everything down. 12 minus 18 is negative 6. So I have negative 6 equals 6m. To get m by itself, now I'm trying to split these apart. So to get rid of that 6, these are being multiplied. So we do the opposite and divide. 6 divided by 6 is 1. So negative 6 divided by 6 is negative 1. Even though this is backwards, that's still accurate. Negative 1 equals m, it's just m equals negative 1. It doesn't matter which side the variable is on. So some equations that we look at are going to have no solution. When that occurs, it says it's either null or the empty set, shown by these symbols. So what I typically say is you'll hear me say no solution, and I just use the circle with a line through it. That was not a good picture of that. Circle with a line through it, like this one. That means no solution. Okay, then some may have every number as their solution. If it's true for every value, that's called an identity, or I will say all real numbers. And I use this symbol. It's like two lines for one capital R, all real numbers. You might write this symbol and write out beside it that it means all real numbers, because we're going to look at some of those now. Let me erase that. Okay, so the next one that we're going to look at, we have 2. So we're still doing the same thing that we just did. So in order to get rid of those parentheses, I have to distribute, not get rid of. So 3 times y is 3y. 3 times negative 5 is minus 15. We still have the plus 25 equals 3y plus 10. So from this one, we've got to get our y's together. They went ahead and combined these since they were on the same side of the equal sign. That's fine. Negative 15 plus 25 is 10. So from there, we have to subtract this 3y in order to move it to the other side. 3y minus 3y cancels. I'm left with 10 equals, 3y minus 3y also cancels, and I'm left with 10. So we are left with something where all of our variables canceled out. So you look at if it's true. 10 equals 10. Over here it says that means an identity is shown. Additive identity or multiplicative identity. I would just say all real numbers, because right here they say the solution set is all real numbers. So if your letters cancel out and what you're left with is true, that means no matter what y is, 10 will always equal 10. So that is all real numbers. Okay, on B. Same thing, we have to get rid of those parentheses by distributing. We get negative 5s minus 14 equals 2 times 2s is 4s, plus 2 times 3 is 6, and then we still had that minus 9s out to the side. So on this one, I have 2 s's that are on the same side of the equal side and one that's on the other. So the ones that are on the same side, just go ahead and do what's between them. That's why we've looked at like terms. The sign out front of it goes with that number. So this means 4s minus 9s, which is negative 5s. So we have 6 minus 5s on this side. Now we can try to get our s's together that are on opposite sides. Since this is a negative 5, I'm going to add 5s to both sides. When I do, it cancels out here and on the other side. So I'm left with negative 14 equals 6. So no matter what s is, that will never be true. So this one is no solution. Okay, let's try. I'm going to go ahead and have you do both of these. You need the extra practice. So do 2A and 2B, and then I'll go over it with you. On 2A, we have an R here, here, and here. So we can't solve this one until we get our R's together. So there's actually 2 options you could do to start with on this one. We could go ahead and distribute this 2 first, or since these 2 R's are on the same side of the equal sign, we could get them together. It doesn't matter which one you start with, so I'll get my R's together. Since they're on the same side of the equal sign, if I look, I can just do what's between them. So this means negative 5R minus 1R. That's on the video. Sorry about that. Okay, I forgot to wait. So negative 5R minus 1R, negative 6R minus 8. Now I'm going to distribute this 2. Negative 6R, negative 2 times 4 is negative 8, so just minus 8. Okay, so I've got to get my R's together now. They're on opposite sides of the equal sign, so to move one, I'm going to do the opposite to it. So since this is a negative 6R, I'm going to add 6R. That cancels. I'm left with negative 8 equals, well, it cancels here too. I'm left with negative 8. So negative 8 equals negative 8. That is a true statement that we're left with. So this one, the answer is all real numbers. So we use this symbol, that double R. Because it means no matter what R is, it's going to cancel. And negative 8 will always equal negative 8. So it's all real numbers. On 2B, we have to distribute before we can get our letters together. 8 times 4 is 32. 4 times 2 is 8W. So I've got to get my W's together. They're on opposite sides of the equal sign. So I do the opposite to one of them to move it to the other side. I have 14 equals 32 and it cancels from both sides, and I'm left with 14 equals 32. That is not true, nor will it ever be true. So you put a line through your equal sign, that means does not equal, and your answer is no solution. Circle with a line through it. Now in example 3, we're doing the same thing, but now we have an inequality sign instead of an equal sign. It works, and we solve it the exact same way. So this means we're trying to get x by itself with that inequality sign, so I've got to get rid of these parentheses by distributing. 4 times x is 4x, minus 4 times 3, which is 12, and then I still have greater than 6. So from here, we're trying to get x by itself, so I have to get rid of the 4 and the 12. You get rid of the one that's by itself first. So since it's minus 12, we're going to add 12 to both sides. That cancels, and I'm left with 4x is greater than 6 plus 12 is 18. Well, from here, we have to get rid of that 4. It's being multiplied, so we divide both sides by 4. That cancels. I'm left with x is greater than 18 divided by 4 is 4.5. So x is greater than 4.5 would be your final answer on that. Okay, I want y'all to do just 3B on this one. Don't worry about 3A. We'll just do one of these, 3B. On 3B, we now have our inequality sign. Before I can solve for B, I have to get rid of these parentheses, so I do that by distributing that 4. 4 times B is 4B, minus 4 times 3 is 12. I still have less than or equal to 72. You read these like a word from left to right. It starts out small and then gets big, so that is less than or equal to. So I'm solving for B, so I want to get it by itself with the inequality sign. So I have to get rid of the 4 and the 12. You get rid of the one that's by itself first. So 72 plus 12 is 84. Next, we divide by 4. B is less than or equal to 21. All right, last example that I'll do with you. So we are solving for an inequality again, and then it says graph the solution on a number line. So before we can do anything with this, we have to get rid of those parentheses by distributing. So we have 4 times a, which is 4a. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. So this is our inequality once we've gotten rid of parentheses. And I have to get these a's together. So to get those together, you do the opposite to get them together, to move it across that inequality sign. It doesn't matter which one you move, but make it easier on yourself. This one's a 5a, this one's a 4a, and they're both positive. So I'm going to move this one by subtracting 4a from both sides. 5a minus 4a is just 1a, because they cancel. I have minus 8 is greater than or equal to, that one canceled, and I'm left with negative 12. So a minus 8 is greater than or equal to negative 12. Now to solve for a, we just have to add that 8 to both sides. So I have a is greater than or equal to, and then negative 12 plus 8 is negative 4. So to graph it on a number line, we go to negative 4, make sure our number line's in order. It's greater than or equal to, so it is a filled-in circle. And it says a is greater than that, so it is going to the right. It's getting bigger. Don't forget, this one didn't do it, but if we were having to divide or multiply by a negative number, your inequality sign flips around. Okay, so I want you to try 5a and 5b. You don't have to graph them right now. You can for extra practice, but I'm not going to go over graphing them. I mainly just want you to solve it right now. So do both of these, and then we'll go over it, and that'll be it for today. In 5a, before we can start, we've got to get rid of these parentheses. So we distribute this negative 2. Negative 2 times k is negative 2k. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. So minus 2 is greater than negative 16 plus 5k. So I've got to get my k's together. They're on opposite sides of that inequality sign, so to move one across, we do the opposite to it. So this negative 2k, we could move the 5. I'm going to move this one to make it a little easier. I'm going to add it. I'm left with negative 2 is greater than negative 16 plus 7k. So to get k by itself now, I've got to get rid of these two numbers. We get rid of the one that's by itself first. Negative 2 plus 16 is 14. and I divide both sides by 7. 14 divided by 7 is 2. So 2 is greater than k. If you were to write it in order, it would be k is less than 2, but it doesn't matter which way you put it. Okay, looking at 5b, we've got to distribute this 3. 3p, 3 times negative 6 is minus 18. We've got to get our p's together, so I'm going to subtract that to the other side. 3 minus 2 is 1p. So all I have to do on this one is add 18 to the other side. That is 23 is greater than or equal to p, or p is less than or equal to 23.